Hello, London. I am so excited that we could chat today. First and foremost, thank you for taking the time to share this with me and with anybody who might watch this. I'm really excited to chat with you. So, thank you for being here.
I'm just glad to be here.
Awesome. So, why don't we start with? I mean, I've already said your name, but who you are and how we know each other.
Yeah, so my name is London, and we met each other after, well, how we know each other is you were my sober coach. So I'll just go with that.
Yeah, awesome. And we worked together because we were just talking about your sobriety journey, and we worked together like 2.5 years ago-ish. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
about two years ago. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And do you remember the program that you were in?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
So I
I know
believe
that
if, go ahead.
I think that I was gonna do a group thing,
Hmm.
and then we ended up, I don't know, somehow we ended up going to one-to-ones. And so I
Yes.
think we met like on a weekly basis.
Yep. 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 I
Yeah.
remember now. Yeah. So I think it did start in like the group coaching format. So the Lose the Booze group coaching. But
Yep.
then it segued into private coaching. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So if you can recall, I would love for you to share just like a little bit about what your life in relation to alcohol looked like before we started working together.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know how far back to go with this, but I think I'll just go with pretty much immediately before I started looking for help, which was, my relationship was very mixed.
Mhm.
I had, obviously there was an affinity for alcohol, um, and I enjoyed, I don't know, the feeling it gave me. But after so long, I was just, the highs weren't as high anymore. Um, I, I was depressed. I was anxious. I wasn't the person I wanted to be. I was in my early 30s at that time, and I knew, something needed to change.
Mhm.
And so my relationship was like it was love hate, and it was veering into hate, more to hate, like,
Yeah.
um so yeah, it
Mhm.
wasn't good.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yep. I can relate. And so you mentioned before you started looking for help, and I'm curious, like, at what point did you realize, or did you get to the place where you were like, what I'm trying on my own isn't really working? So, like, reaching out for help is probably what would be what would be beneficial for me. Do you remember, like, when you sort of hit that tipping point?
Yeah, actually, I I basically had kind of a mental breakdown, and I was with my husband, who, thank God, he was there. I was hungover, and I don't know exactly what was going on, if there was anything that really like prompted or triggered it, but I was just having a breakdown because I knew I couldn't live my life the way I was going anymore.
Mhm.
Um, and I was just miserable and like devastated. It was like, I just had a realization. It's something that it was almost like a panic attack, and I knew something needed to change. I needed to stop drinking. And
Mm.
that was when we agreed, yeah, let's seriously look into changing this.
Yeah.
So that was the moment.
Yeah, yeah. And I can actually remember having a similar experience too. And it wasn't even like there was a big catastrophe event. Like I didn't have, a like rock bottom where, some big explosion happened. It was just like another night of heavy drinking and waking up the next day and being like, I hate everything about this. I cannot keep doing this anymore. Like I just became so intolerant of that like terrible destructive cycle. So I can really relate to that. Um, Before you found me, were you attempting to do anything to address this on your own?
Yeah, I tried a few dry Januaries, two of them,
Hmm.
and they were both good, but I never committed to quitting because
Hmm.
I knew I would fail.
Hmm.
So I never tried, so I could never say I, tried and failed.
Yeah.
Um, but that was the most. It always was on my mind. I was always thinking about it, and then I started kind of talking about it a little bit,
Hmm.
and then eventually the breakdown. Eventually, like it just had to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. Um, so where are you now in your relationship with alcohol?
Yeah. Wow. I don't know. It's a good relation. I don't have a relationship, I guess, like with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't really have. Of course, like there are times when I'm like, I still get stressed out. Like things are not all like rainbows and sunshine for sure. Like I still get
Sure.
very stressed. I still get depressed and anxious. But I don't even think about alcohol 95% of the time.
Yeah.
Of course, there are moments where I'm like, you know what, like it would be great to get drunk, but then like it immediately leaves my mind.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it doesn't happen very often. It's when that happens, that's when I know I'm like, oh no, London, we've got to start thinking about like what's stressing you out. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I will then start taking that very seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm very much free from like the grips that it had on me before,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which is
That's
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned this to me before, but if you wouldn't mind saying it again, how long have you been sober now?
Yeah, a little over 2 years now. I think, yeah, almost two and a half, maybe.
Yeah, that's
January
amazing.
20th, or yeah,
Yeah,
January 20th, 2023. So,
awesome. I love that. Congratulations. That's a huge, huge deal. And you certainly didn't just land at more than 2 years sober. Like, I know how hard you worked to get there. Um, and do you remember, like, I know you said specifically you did dry January a couple of times, but in your other attempts to get sober, do you remember how long that lasted, or was it kind of contained to those months and then, maybe back to old habits?
it was definitely contained to those
Yeah.
2 months. I
Yeah.
was a weekend drinker. I wasn't like,
Mhm.
I thought, that was how I kept it under control was
Right.
only on Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So longest period of sobriety about a month, and now you're more than 2 years, approaching 2.5 years.
yes,
That's
yep.
amazing. Oh, good for you.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
what feels what feels possible now in your life that perhaps didn't feel possible, didn't feel within reach, didn't feel available 2.5 years ago?
Um, yeah, I think just the confidence I have to aspire to a career, to build relationships, new relationships with people, and also maintaining the ones I have,
Mhm.
healing my relationships with like others and myself.
Mhm.
Healing the relationship with myself probably is number one. Like, I am
Yeah.
finally able to focus on me and figuring out who I am and who I've been, who's been hiding all these years.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. Like relationship with yourself, relationship with others, building confidence, healing, like really reconnecting to like who you actually are without alcohol interfering in any of that. Like that's
Yeah.
big. Yeah.
It was not
Um,
even, it was definitely not possible when I was drinking. You know, like
yeah.
you're
Yeah.
so clouded, it's so fogged. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I couldn't figure out anything. It was always in the way. It was always a roadblock. Like,
Hmm.
you know, I could really start facing my problems when I stopped drinking. Like
Yeah.
everything like came to light and it wasn't pretty when I
Hmm.
stopped drinking. I had to
Hmm.
do a lot of work.
Yeah.
Um So it was just it was getting in the way, and then I could figure out like, oh, I'm dealing with this, mental illness, and I can actually start taking medication, and I can take this medication because you're not supposed to drink on it, and I can see
Yeah.
if it actually works.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and then do I actually, feel like these people I've been hanging out with for years? Do
Hmm.
I want to build my relationship with some of the people I've lost touch with in my family?
Hmm.
I can think through these things clearly. Like, I know this is
Yeah.
London, and
Hmm.
this is not, London who's coping with, like, you know, alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. Um, Do you remember, like within our work together, the sort of main things that we worked on that helped you get to where you are now? So I know, this could be things like habits and habit change. We talked about confidence building.
Mm.
I remember we did a lot around like self-care and movement. And yeah, so I know it's been a while, but can you think of the areas that felt maybe most impactful for you that helped you get to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, definitely confidence. Like that was
Yeah.
such a big part of that. I needed support in that area because I was just like I said, I just didn't believe I could do it. And
Yeah.
um so just knowing that I had support from somebody who I felt connection with, who I felt like understood where I came from and wasn't coming from like, I don't know, like a clinical sense, or I don't know, it didn't have like a rehab feel. Like, um, I feel like you genuinely cared about me and my progress, and so we worked through a lot of confidence issues and things like that. And I
Hmm.
also like preparing for like obviously in early sobriety, it's a lot of raw emotion. And so
Hmm.
like dealing with those emotions, dealing with like, okay, this is going to come up or this could come up.
Hmm.
Um, and also like, how are you going to live your life now? Like, who are you
Hmm.
going to tell? And what are
Hmm.
you going to do this weekend? Like, what are you going to do in this situation? Like, we would talk through like real life things. It wasn't just going through, which you had a very useful workbook. You had very useful prompts, questions, things to think about and write down. But then we would also discuss like, what are you actually dealing with at this
Yeah.
time?
Yeah. Yeah. So confidence for sure. Learning how to actually be with and like process and feel your feelings, right? Without outsourcing to alcohol or numbing or whatever. You also mentioned a piece about not believing that you could. And I know that, we did a lot around like mindset and beliefs, so like the inner dialogue and the things that we believe to be true and the things that we invest in, and like actually investigating if all of that is true, and if that, like you believing that you couldn't do it, that was a belief that you had but also it wasn't true, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So confidence, mindset stuff, and all the emotions piece. And then, just like planning and strategy around like real life, how to navigate this now without alcohol being in the mix. Anything else that you can think of? I mean, that's also a great list, so no pressure.
Yeah. Well, no, and I think those are the biggest things that like I that most impactful. And like obviously we did a
Mhm.
lot of habit work,
Mhm.
meditation, you know, I know you had some other things, but meditation was the main one that I did. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome. I love that. Um, Once you found me and we chatted, was there anything that almost prevented you from working together and actually signing up?
it was really just that I just didn't think I could do it. You know, it's my fear of
Yeah,
failure that would get in the way. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh, I'm going to go see this person. I'm going to let her down. Or I'm a people pleaser too. And I didn't want to like
yeah,
feel the shame of failing at something and like investing my money into something and
yeah.
developing a relationship. And then, poof, I screwed up.
Right. Yeah,
But But I knew I couldn't, like I said, I knew I couldn't live my life like this anymore.
yeah,
I kept hitting this, like that wall. Like when that thought
yeah,
would pop up, it's like, well, if I follow that thought, I'm still hitting this wall of like, there's nowhere else to go. There's
yeah.
no other path for me, is the way I kind
Hmm.
of like convinced myself to look at it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and honestly, all of that I think is just so relatable for people, right? The like fear of failure, the like, what if I invest and it like, I don't know, I have a misstep or something. I think that a lot of people, that's a lot of people's experience when it comes to like really jumping in, and you kind of spoke to it earlier about doing dry Januaries, but never really making a commitment beyond that time, right? Because then it's like, well, if it doesn't go well, at least I didn't, fully try and then fail, right? um
Exactly.
so what and you may have already answered this with what you just said, but if there's anything else, there's space for it. What made you like jump in and actually say like, okay, great, I would like to work with you. I'm doing this. Let's do this. Do you remember?
Um, Yeah. Well, and I had already gone through like all the other options that come up when you Google like help, I need help, which is like,
Yeah,
like rehab, AA meetings, like things like that, that
yeah.
just didn't feel like I didn't feel connected to it. And
Hmm.
so I think sober coaches came up as an option. And then I started searching Instagram and I found you.
Hmm.
And I read, part of your story where you actually have, had experience, like you've gone through a lot and gotten sober on your own and learned a lot of tools and ways deal with that. And you just seem really passionate about helping others, and you targeted towards women. I really appreciated that.
Hmm.
Um, and then just seeing like your photos and like how like it appeared you were living your life, like you were outdoors, you were hanging out with friends, like you seem to have a fulfilling life. And
Hmm.
so I think all of that together made me like, just I felt, you know I trusted you enough to, message you, take the
Hmm.
plunge, let's see what
Yeah,
this is all about.
yeah, yeah. Well, I thank you for that, because that, and it is a trust thing, absolutely, right? Like
Yeah.
working with a coach is a very involved, like intimate relationship and dynamic, and it is a big deal to extend your trust to somebody. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I truly, um, I'm deeply grateful. Um,
Thank
and thank you
you.
for,
I mean, like,
yeah.
I honestly, I wouldn't be here. I mean, like, without you, there's nothing else like leading up to my life that would have gotten me here. So honestly, this is because of you that I can be here today. And so I really, really appreciate you. Thank you.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
got something great going on. So, I hope that other people can, yeah, just give it a chance and
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
the plunge.
Hmm. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I mean, really, like, and I always say something similar, which is, I have the program and I have the tools and I can extend them to you, but it's always up to you what you decide to do with them and what you decide to make of the experience. And you were tremendously open and willing and coachable. And even if it was like uncomfortable or challenging, you still showed up and you still tried. And like that, those are the pieces that got you to where you are, you know? So I hear you and I thank you and I receive it. And also, I want to like mirror it back to you. Um, yeah. And again, like it just, I love doing this work so much and it's such an honor, and I wouldn't get to do it if people didn't say yes, right, to working with me. So like thank you as well for making this possible for me. um what would you say to someone who is thinking about working with me or considering that?
I mean, do it. Just do it. If
Yeah,
you're thinking about it, I think you already know you've got to like there's something in your life that's not right.
yeah.
Um there's a piece there, and I think if anything you're there for just support. It doesn't have to mean I'm done with this for life. You're not married to it. But knowing that someone's there for you, a non-judgmental person who is just rooting for you,
Mhm.
um, you know, just give it a chance. That's all I would say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that and agreed, right? It's just like, what have you got to lose, right?
Yeah,
Really.
yeah.
um yeah, cool, thank you for that. Anything else that you would like to add about your experience, your own sobriety journey, anything else that feels um helpful to this conversation?
I think just that I don't regret any of the time that I've been sober. Like, I
Yeah,
never think, oh, I wish I had that drink that night.
yeah.
Like, there's no night, there's no time in the past 2 years where I'm like, I should have just done it, or like it would have
Hmm.
added to something. So that
Yeah,
just like tells me I know I'm doing the right thing, even though it's so hard sometimes, even though especially at the very beginning of it, it was so fucking hard.
yeah,
um
yeah,
it's so worth it. Now I can focus on other things in my life and
yeah,
move on. So a lot of things
yeah,
are possible.
yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's like a great note to end on. I think, I also, like you, have never had a moment where I'm like, man, I really regret not blacking out last night,
Yeah, right.
or like, man, I regret not drinking too much and making a fool of myself. Whereas the opposite is like, so many things that I regretted around my alcohol use. So
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And I love the realness about it. Like, yeah, it can be challenging in the beginning. And yeah, it's definitely work. And also it is deeply rewarding, and it's, created this like life of possibility. Um, yeah, which is like so I'm just so thrilled for you. Like, look at where you are.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm so happy for you. Um, Awesome. Well, we can wrap it up with that, but thank you again. I really appreciate your time, your trust. I appreciate you sharing this with me. And I'm sure it will be really, really helpful for anyone who happens to see this in the future. So thank you. I'm really grateful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.